Welcome, Generals. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. We're diving deep into the tactical mechanics of a truly brilliant system, BattleBox Napoleonic Wars. Look, if you love strategy, history, or just incredibly efficient game design, you are definitely in the right place. So grab your command baton and let's jump right into this explainer.
Okay, so we're dealing with an absolutely insane scale of warfare here. Picture this, an entire battlefield, complete with armies, terrain, dice, the whole shebang, all housed in a breath mint-sized tin. It's wild. You can literally slip it into your pocket, take it to the pub, and play out a full game of black powder warfare in under 30 minutes. It is a wonderfully distilled experience of the period. Here is our commander's briefing for today. 1. The pocket-sized battlefield. 2. Assembling your army. 3. Terrain and maneuvers. 4. Firepower and engagement ranges. 5. Assaults and combat modifiers. And 6. Tenacity and ultimate victory.
All right, Section 1, the pocket-sized battlefield. Let's see how we build this war zone from scratch.
Setting up your battlefield is brilliantly simple. First, you just grab the deck of 18 terrain cards, give them a good shuffle, and lay them out horizontally in a 3x4 grid. Now, the really clever part here is that each individual card is actually divided into 2 control zones. By doing this, you instantly generate a battlefield that is 6 control zones wide and 4 control zones deep. It's a perfect scaled-down replica of the standard 6-foot by 4-foot tabletop space that traditional wargamers know and love.
Once you've got your grid set up, we need to talk about control zone logistics. Basically, think of each zone as a physical bucket that holds a maximum of exactly 3 capacity spaces. You cannot exceed that. Within each zone, how you place your troops is everything. You've got your frontline units, and they have to directly face one of the 4 sides of the square, pointing towards the enemy. Then, right behind them, you place your reserve units, facing that exact same direction. This establishes the vital spatial concept of your battle line. Moving right along to Section 2, Assembling Your Army. Let's talk about the troops you'll actually be commanding out there.
So, the game comes with 24 of these great little wooden playing pieces, split into 2 colors, for a generic red army and a blue army. In your imagination, sure, these can be French, British, Russian, whoever, but mechanically, the shapes are super simple. The long blocks, those are your infantry brigades. The chevron-shaped pieces are your fast-moving cavalry regiments, and those little cubes are your devastating artillery batteries. Typically, for a standard battle, you and your opponent will each draft a composition of about 8 to 10 units to form your army. Now let's break down the math of composing a control zone and managing that crucial 3-space capacity limit. It works like this. An infantry brigade takes up exactly 1 space. A cavalry regiment needs 1.5 spaces, which makes total sense given their wider footprint with all those horses. And an artillery battery is highly compact, needing only half a space. The real puzzle of the game is managing this math so you can maximize your frontline presence while still keeping a healthy reserve in the back, all without busting that 3-space limit.
Let's move into Section 3, Terrain and Maneuvers.
You are going to encounter some terrain features on these cards, and knowing how to leverage them is literally life or death for your little wooden blocks. Take woods, for example. Woods completely block line of sight and are totally impassable to movement. They act like solid brick walls on your battlefield. But then you have hills. Hills also block line of sight, sure, but they offer a massive tactical advantage. If your unit occupies a hill, they get a +1 bonus to their tenacity, making them way harder to break. So yeah, taking the high ground, absolutely critical.
Time to heat things up with Section 4, Firepower and Engagement Ranges. This is where we start throwing lead across the table.
Understanding your engagement capabilities is huge because your units fight very differently. Infantry can fire into adjacent zones or use skirmish fire, and they score a hit on a roll of 3 or higher on a 6-sided die. Cavalry, well, they actually have 0 firepower. They are strictly a melee-only unit, but they completely make up for it with a massive movement speed of 2 zones per turn. But the real star of the shooting phase is the artillery. These batteries can fire a round shot an incredible 8 zones across the board. And if an enemy is foolish enough to step into an adjacent zone, that artillery switches to canister shot, hitting on a brutally deadly roll of 2 or higher. Now there's a specific type of shooting we need to cover called skirmish fire. This happens when your infantry fires at an enemy from a distance during their turn. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. They can only execute skirmish fire provided they have not already marched or moved that turn. You've really got to plant your feet if you want to trade volleys across the field.
Next up, Section 5, Assaults and Combat Modifiers. This is the climax of the game, where things get really up close and personal.
Honestly, we learn best by looking at a real battle state. Here, you can see the red division holding the hill in row A, while the blue division approaches from row C. But observe how the blue general perfectly executes a maneuver with their 4th infantry unit, sliding right into zone A4 and shifting their front line facing to attack the flank of the red infantry. Why go to all that trouble? Because flanking is without a doubt the most lethal maneuver in the entire game. When you assault a unit that does not have a front line facing you, you are outflanking them. And the mechanical rule for this is just brutal. The attacker gets to re-roll any of their melee failures, and the defender? They are forced to re-roll any of their successful survival rolls. It will absolutely shred an enemy line.
But hey, you aren't totally defenseless if your line gets hit. This is exactly why we keep those reserves. Let me explain a counterattack for you. Say your frontline unit breaks under pressure, or maybe they just move out of the way. The reserve unit sitting right behind them immediately steps up to fill that frontline position. And if there is an ongoing assault happening in that zone, that fresh reserve unit instantly engages in a melee counterattack. It's this brilliant automatic defense mechanism built right into the deployment rules.
There's also a golden rule for combat modifiers that you have to memorize. Whether you're launching an assault or defending against one, you get to add a giant +1 to your melee die roll if, and only if, you have a supporting unit of the exact same type sitting in reserve in your control zone. Stacking infantry right behind infantry or cavalry right behind cavalry, that is exactly how you guarantee your assaults punch straight through those enemy lines.
Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 6, Tenacity and Ultimate Victory.
Whenever a unit takes a hit, whether from fire or melee, they have to roll a tenacity check on a standard D6 to see if they hold their nerve. Infantry hold on a 4+, cavalry on a 5+, and artillery need a 6. So what happens? Well, if you fail the roll, your unit breaks completely and is permanently removed from the game. If you roll exactly equal to your tenacity stat, you get the option to retreat one zone backwards, which might just save them. And if you roll higher than your stat, your unit successfully holds its ground. Oh, and remember that hill terrain bonus we talked about earlier? If you are sitting on a hill, you add a crucial +1 to this life-saving tenacity roll.
So how do you actually win this thing? The game ends in one of two ways. You either play a set number of turns, which is usually between 6 and 12, depending on your scenario, or the game ends instantly if one entire army completely breaks and routes from the field. When the smoke clears, the winner is the general who broke the most enemy units, or whoever captured the specific terrain objectives for that scenario. And honestly, that covers the entire tactical framework of this tiny, incredible game. From stacking your control zones and grabbing the high ground, to launching devastating flanking maneuvers and crossing your fingers on those tenacity rolls, the depth here is just staggering for something that fits inside a mint tin. So I have to ask, are you ready to deploy your pocket-sized army and rewrite history in under 30 minutes? Grab the tin, set up the grid, and test your own tactical genius. Thank you so much for joining me for this Explainer, Generals. I will see you on the battlefield.